we were in negotiations.
Investing in real estate, they're winning, they're making money.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Real Estate Educators Podcast, where we provide the education you can build on. I am your host, Kevin Amolsch. This podcast is different than a lot that we've listened to or I've listened to, in that we help real estate investors and we help real estate educators. So if you're a real estate investor or if you're promoting real estate investors through education, this is the podcast for you. I have a special guest with me today. Randy, we've known each other for about 2 years now, but what I really love about you is you're not necessarily in the trenches in the real estate investment world, but you're definitely in the trenches on the education world. And you have a fantastic business too, actually, Elite Roofing and Solar and the Roofing Academy. So best-selling author, Randy Brothers, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, man. It's a pleasure to be here, my man. It's great knowing you. It's been a blessing to just have you in my life, dude. I'm grateful for you. Hey, man, this is happening. Let's do this, man.
Let's do it, man. So we're in a business group together. We meet every single month, and I've gotten to know you pretty well over the last couple of years. And I'm just psyched to have you on the show. So let's go back in time here. You are a roofer. You also are a real estate investor. So I want to get into a little bit of that as well. But like just real estate in general, man, like contracting, roofing, investing. How'd you get started?
So I guess both sides, right? Contracting, they kind of go hand in hand. So I went to school, right? I was lucky enough to go to school. I went to the University of Northern Colorado, and they have a business school there. So I knew early on that I wanted to go into business, and I was able to get into the business school. And while I was there, I took as many entrepreneurship classes as I could, and I also got to the point where I was like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? I've always had a niche and just an interest in construction. And, I'm a third generation guy. I watched my grandfather and my dad, build stuff and work in the wood shop. And I just always had a really big interest in construction. So putting those two things together, I was like, you know what, maybe construction's a career I want to go down. And while I was in college, I was able to land an internship with a construction company. And they were building homes at the time, they were doing some track homes as well as, a couple like semi-custom homes as well. And they were kind of getting to some light commercial. So I ended up working for them for, I want to say 2.5, 3 years. And through that process is how I was able to actually get my first investment property, my first home. And funny enough, the very first task I got when I started working for them was, hey, take this truck, go to this job site and clean the job site. I'm like, okay, here we go. Yeah. So I show up, throw some gloves on, and I'm just like picking up lumber and bags of like stuffed like siding and insulation. I'm just cleaning this job site after like the framers and after like the siders were done. And lo and behold, about by the time that job that house got completed, and I'd kind of helped out along the way just learning the ropes. And lo and behold, I didn't realize it, but I was building my own house. The owner of that company kind of helped me get started. He helped me buy that house from his company, and this was at age 23. So I bought my first house then. And then what I did was it wasn't finished at the time, so we built the house spec, and the basement was unfinished. So I bought the house, and then shortly thereafter is when I kind of went off on my own and started doing my own thing. One of my very first projects was finishing my own basement. So finished my basement and added a couple more bedrooms. And then what I did was I rented out each room to cover the cost of the house and make a little bit extra. So that was my little crash course into real estate and construction. It all kind of came together at once.
Yeah, so you were renting out rooms. A lot of us in the real estate industry start out that way. There's a term for that now, house hacking, but we were house hacking before house hacking was house hacking, weren't we, Randy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was just a hustler, man. I was like, okay, I can't really afford this house.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do I afford it? Okay, if I rent my rooms out to friends of mine for $300 a pop, like 5 bedrooms, $1,500, my mortgage was $1,200 at the time. I was like, hey, cool. I can pay for some beer. So that was kind of how I landed on that.
Oh, that's so cool. You got started in real estate, building your own house. I got to tell you, man, I don't know anybody else that has a story quite like that. And you didn't even know you were building your own house. So that's really cool. Do you still talk to the guy that helped you out?
I do. Not a ton, but we just stay connected online, and it was two partners, and they ended up splitting and kind of doing different things. And unfortunately, when the big kind of recession happened, that company ended up going under, and they kind of went separate ways. And they're still in construction, but different, right? And I still stay in touch every once in a while with them. One guy in particular, his name is Rich. He was a good mentor for me, man. I just followed him along, and he taught me the ropes on how to build a house from I remember being out on job sites on a plot of land, like finding the markers, the site markers, and posting stakes and pulling and literally laying out the foundation. And so I built from foundation all the way up to the roof, where I landed. But he was a great mentor for me, and he gave me some advice and showed me the ropes in construction. So I'm forever grateful for that.
Yeah, and you have a fantastic roofing company. I know it's nationally known. So how did you go from building foundation up to just focusing on the roof?
The recession. So I ended up launching, kind of branching off into my own company in 2006. And the objective was to be a custom home builder. And, I wanted to build, I love the creativity of just like building something and building something special for somebody. And that's what my vision and goal was in life. I thought that was kind of like the holy grail in the construction / real estate world, right? And the recession happened. Banks stopped lending, and I was kind of I found myself in a place where I'm just scrounging to try to get any type of work. We were doing basements, decks, fences, any type of remodel I can get, and slowly but surely that kind of the wool kind of came out from under that one, and I found myself working for a restoration company. And that's what kind of cued me into the insurance restoration world. And a tornado hit in the market that we were working, like right next, like 10 minutes away from where we were working in a town called in Windsor, Colorado in 2007. So that hit. And then all of a sudden I see a lot of these roofing companies coming in with these sales teams. And I'm like, and then I make friends, right? That's how I roll. I've always met mentors. I make friends with some guy, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing, man? I'm out here like driving this truck around with like nailing, taking OSB and trying to like nail up windows and trying to land all these, like, I want to completely rebuild your house. And he's like, forget that, man. I just want to do the roof. I'm like, wait a minute, what's that all about? So I learned from him a little bit as to what was going on there. And that, I could do a basement finish or a remodel in 6 to 8 weeks and make roughly the same amount of money I could make doing one roof that takes a day, maybe 2 days. And I'm like, wait a minute. So once that clicked, I was like, okay, I'm missing the boat here. So I wanted to get into roofing. But my track wasn't directly into roofing. My track was, I actually was in a bad financial spot at that time. I mean, I was like losing my business and in a bad financial spot. So I was like, I can't just start a new business or turn my business around right away. I need to make some money quick. So I discovered that I could become an insurance adjuster and go chase storms, hailstorms, tornadoes, hurricanes, whatever. So I did that for about a year. Ended up in Texas, and that's what kind of started me with roofing sales. And I came back to Denver in 2009 and just did roofing sales first and just crushed that. Did really well with roofing sales. I made a lot of money just selling roofs. I'm like, okay. And then I realized that there was a big opportunity for, somebody to really come in with some really high level business, not at the time, really not that high level business, but business experience, and like really approach roofing, not from like a hustler mentality, but from a, hey, what if I start from the ground up building systems and processes and build something that we can duplicate and repeat and really do this the right way? In my opinion, was the right way. And that's what ultimately I was like, let's do this, start a roofing company. And that's where I landed there. In about 2010 is when we officially launched the Elite Roofing brand.
That's amazing. So Pine Financial was started in 2008, and a lot of my friends and a lot of investors that are ultra successful kind of got started at that same time too. So you're telling me the recession, 2008, sort of crushed you, and then Elite Roofing was born.
Exactly. Yep.
So it was actually a kind of a good painful process for you.
Absolutely. And looking back, I wrote about it in the book, and I'm forever grateful for it, because I mean, I think 23, 24, 25 at the time, like just some young kid trying to make things happen. And I've always had like a very, very driven, wanted to kind of make something for myself. And I'm grateful that it happened so early, because I learned so many lessons, like losing everything and going bankrupt, that taught me, and catapulted my career and has kind of kept me going up until now, where it's been an up and down road. As you know, we just got through another kind of quote unquote recession, right? Yeah. So I've been through two of them now in my career, and I've just, in the recessions, in the lows, in the trenches is when I've learned the most as an entrepreneur.
And we're talking about economic recessions here.
Absolutely.
But you go through, like, I don't know what you call it, a weather recession. Like,
yeah,
if you go through a dry spell, no hail, no wind, no damage, that's got to be tough for you.
It is tough, and it's market based, right? I work with contractors all across the country, and every market is different. They all have their different nuances. But leading up to 2020, well, that's kind of the catalyst as to where everything started changing. Right. Leading up to 2020, I think the Colorado Denver market had like 9 or 10 years in a row with at least some sort of a significant hailstorm that caused enough damage to keep a bunch of roofers busy. And kept me busy. We scaled our business. I inked 5,000 3 times, I had to cover Roofing Contract magazine and all these accolades. And it was a fun ride, right? We had the Midas touch. And then, the process of not only COVID, the recession, the economic downturn, and then at the same token, a market where even the consumers were accustomed to, like, I'm not paying for a roof. I'm going to get my insurance to pay for it next year because I'll probably get a hailstorm. So even the consumers in this market were like accustomed to just waiting. They're not going to buy a roof. So there was really a very small retail market for residential roofing. So that made it really difficult because the market's conditioned for hail, conditioned for insurance claims, conditioned to replace the roof every 5-6 years or whatever. And we had built a brand and built a business off of that. And then all of a sudden, the first year with no hail, we're like, all right, we're okay. We had a lot of carryover from the previous year. Second year, no hail. Okay, now it's getting a little tricky. Third year with no hail. We went 4 years with no real big hailstorms. But again, I learned a ton because that's where you sharpen your saw as an entrepreneur. Like what got me there wasn't going to get me to the next place, right? What got you here doesn't get you there. Is that how they say that? And I was able to, there's some trial and error and some grace and some luck all combined, but we really pressed into commercial, which there's a lot of retail and commercial. So we're able to do a lot of that, a lot of coatings and stuff like that. We were able to really build our service department. We started doing a lot more repairs and service work and really small jobs. And then ultimately by the third year of this hail drought, so to speak, we were doing all the things in retail, but revenue was dropping quite a bit because it was just the market wasn't there for all the insurance claims. So then I realized that there was a big push in the market for solar. So we started kind of jumping into the solar world, and that's where we ended up launching our solar division, which was in 2022. So we just adapt, you adapt and overcome. And then, last year we had a record hail year. So it was really cool. We made it through that. And then last year we had an epic hail year. We remembered all the stuff we did before, and we were able to, 150x or 1.5x our business in 1 year. So it was cool. It's been a fun ride for sure.
It's funny talking to a roofer because, you think about usually I'm talking to like the actual owners, the investors, right? And you're saying, yeah, it was a good hail year. It was amazing. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. So it's just so funny, the different perspective there.
Yep. We're the only ones that like root for hail, right? And I own properties like, no way do I want to have to redo my hail or file a monster claim, have my insurance go up. Yeah.
So for the listener, Randy, you separate yourself from the pack. And one of the ways you do that from my perspective is you're so positive and motivated and you just this amazing drive. Like it feels like nothing can take you out. And you even said it. I think you said you have to be driven, I think was the words that you used. So help us understand, like, where does that come from?
Well, man, that's a great question. I think a lot of it comes from a place of gratitude. I practice gratitude every single day, man. I got my notebook right here every day. I start with, what am I grateful for? And that keeps me grounded. It keeps me always thinking about where I came from and how I got to where I am. And that keeps me grounded to stay focused on moving forward. But the reality of it is this industry and entrepreneurship in general, like took me from a place I was homeless, going bankrupt, didn't have living out of, a truck and hotels and trying to make something of myself. And it took me from that place between, God and the roofing business, like saved my life essentially. And I feel like passionate about giving back and paying it forward and wanted to help others and try to, be a light in a kind of, unfortunately, this industry isn't exactly the biggest light of an industry. There's a lot of, people and a lot of like outside perception in contracting and roofing that, oh man, they're a bunch of smugglers or they're a bunch of like hustlers and they don't, do things the right way. And unfortunately, there's some, people in the industry that do make bad decisions that kind of affect the rest of us. So I'm just doing my part to try to shed a light on the industry. But at the crux of it, at the core of it, I just feel like a strong commitment to give back to the industry that has given me so much.
Okay. So if I was a listener to this and I'm trying to pull some value out, like what can I take from what you're saying to keep me motivated, to keep me driving forward?
It's not about you. When you can make that transition, like early in my career, when I was doing all the dumb crap that I was doing that got me in bad situations, I was selfish. I was worried about me. I was worried about ego. I was worried about how I could look, what kind of truck I was driving, what kind of boat I had, what kind of, who I had hanging around me. Like I was more about me and my ego and what I could do, to look good to the rest of the world. And, once I was humbled, it was like, no, there was a transition of, it's not about you, it's about others. It's about how do you impact others and how do you help others and share what you know with others. At the same token, you're on a lifelong journey of growth as a leader and as an individual. Once I can kind of put those two things together, it became about like helping others. My motto every day is to be a leader, be a man that serves, lead, teaches, and inspires others each day. And if I can just continue to remind myself that, it keeps me, driven, and it keeps me focused. And man, it's so much more fun to help someone else succeed and see someone else make a breakthrough and someone else, reach a certain milestone in life. Maybe it's financially, or maybe they buy their first house or something. Like that's so much more fun than, buying another car, or, you know what I mean? Like doing, something, that's fun too, but it's just so much more gratifying to help someone else reach a milestone or help someone else succeed. And so if you're on the journey, like that mindset shift of focusing on others versus yourself, that was a big shift.
This episode is brought to you by Pine Financial Group. Pine Financial is a private lender specializing in short-term rehab lending to real estate investors. Got a property that needs some love? We can help. We are able to offer funding solutions because we raise private money from individual investors. With more than 15 years of experience, Pine offers passive investors an alternative that provides stability, consistency, and security to your portfolio. If you like real estate but want to avoid the ups and downs and effort, a Pine mortgage fund could be a perfect fit for you. Accredited investors will experience an 8% preferred return and profit sharing. Diversify your portfolio out of Wall Street and into Main Street with a Pine Financial Group mortgage fund. Get more information at pinefinancialgroup.com. That's pinefinancialgroup.com. Oh man, that is so true. And I experienced that in my own life. So this is one of the best pieces of advice we've gotten on the show. So Randy, thanks so much for that. So this isn't about you. Focus on helping other people and you will get what you want. I think it's Zig Ziglar that said,
Yep.
You can have anything you want if you help enough other people get what they want. So great advice, man. You do help other people. Now you wrote the book, you have a podcast. Thank you for having me on. And you have the Academy. So we have a lot of listeners here that are looking for alternative cash flow streams. So whether it's active or passive, but let's say it's an active, maybe it's an active stream of income. So maybe it's handyman work or a contractor, or maybe they want to be a realtor, even though that's tough right now. But what about roofing? Is that an option for just anybody?
Honestly, it is. The barrier to entry in roofing is fairly low. I mean, and there's certain jurisdictions and parts of the country, I don't know how broad our audience is here, but every, state or county or city, they're going to have different nuances as far as their licensing requirements. I know Colorado's tough. Like I carry a whole bunch of licenses and, places like Florida and Minnesota and like California, they're tough. Like you got to go through a lot of testing and take schooling to get your license. But if you can get through that hurdle, you know, the barrier to entry is fairly low. I mean, especially if you're in a market where there happens to be hailstorms or something like that, that creates a really high market demand. I mean, I started my first day, I just went out and knocked a bunch of doors. I had no clue what the heck I was doing. And, you know, sold over $100,000 in roofing in one day. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is kind of
Oh,
cool.
damn.
I made a commission off of that. I was like, wow, okay, this is a cool business, you know? So the barrier to entry is like fairly low. Like anybody with a good personality, good drive can go out and make something happen. But it's like, when you get it going, the business side where it gets pretty tricky, right? And you got to learn how to manage cash flow. You got to learn how to manage relationships. You got to learn how to lead people, hire, train, onboard, create a culture. You got to create systems, a production process, all these things. So that's where I found a niche. That's where I found an opportunity, because a lot of people can get into this business and you can catch lightning in a bottle. You can do well early and you can do well as a solopreneur, but it's hard to sustain that. You have to start building something else around you and finding people to offset what you're not good at and implement systems and processes. So that's where, you know, I put a lot of energy early on. You know, I got lucky. I can't take credit because I hired my mom and she was all about systems and processes. So she basically started creating them the day we started. She's like, if I'm going to do something more than twice or three times, I'm going to write it down and have a process for it. And that was just like the foundation of everything we did for, you know, 14 years now. So we got to a certain point where we started seeing a pretty significant success. And I just have this like, you know, I feel like it's my purpose to give back and help others. So one day I was like, you know what, here's a good story for you. Wrote the book. I hired a company. I'm borderline dyslexic. I can't read for crap. Like, for those who knew me before, now like me saying you wrote a book, they're like, yeah, right, that dude. You know, yeah, like my book reports are terrible. Like, you know, so I hired a company to kind of help me through the entire process of writing my book. And that was a pretty significant investment. But guess what? I sold that first investment I talk about. I sold that and I had a partner, and we waited forever because we went through the recession. Like I bought that house, ended up I had to wait 12 years to even get back to breaking even on that thing. So it wasn't all rainbows and cupcakes. It was a rough time for me to try to hold on to that thing without losing it, you know? And eventually we sold it, and I made just enough money to fund the book, and then spent about a year writing the book. And we wrote that. It became, you know, went on Amazon, became a bestseller in entrepreneurship in a couple different categories. And then from there, we decided like, hey, what's next? And that's when I started building the online course. So to answer your question, if you can become an expert in anything, I mean, whatever you an expert in or close to an expert in, you know, and have passion to kind of share your knowledge with others, you can find a way to create ancillary and secondary incomes, right? So that was the objective there. It's like, okay, write the book. You don't make money off a book. You know this. It's like it's a really nice business card, put it that way.
Yep.
You get credibility and a business card. You maybe get on some stages, which is cool, right? But the second piece was I created a online learning portal. So I took everything in the book, elaborated on all of it, filmed it all, created a whole bunch of documents that would go along with it, and created an online course. And then we realized that was great, but then we realized that people, they like that, but there's another layer to it where they actually want one-on-one. They want support. They want coaching. So then we added the coaching arm, and now that's what's evolved into the Roofing Academy, where we're, you know, helping contractors all over the country.
Yeah, so that's where I was getting at, the Roofing Academy, because I know it's actually pretty amazing what you've been able to produce with that. You're doing your conferences, right? You're coaching, and you have this online course. So just dive into this a little bit, man. What is the Roofing Academy?
It's a full service coaching consulting platform specifically designed for roofing contractors. You know, our target audience is from startup up to about $3 million in revenue. And we obviously work with more than that, but we want to get somebody in that phase and help them build a foundation, help them implement systems and processes that'll help them get to that $10 million mark sustainably, right? We want to create sustainable growth with our clients. So that's kind of our target. That we're rooting for the little guys, rooting for the startups, rooting for, you know, high energy, high character, high integrity entrepreneurs that want to do something well and do it right in the roofing business. And that's our our niche and our target. So we come in, we have, couple different options and programs, but essentially you get a online portal where we can train pretty much any role in a roofing company. Every document, SOP, standard, standard operating procedure, as well as like spreadsheets, financial tracking, all the spreadsheets and all the sheets that you can imagine. And then on top of that, we have a team of coaches that work with our owners one-on-one. And that's kind of the premise of it. So, it's a monthly subscription model where, we just try to, we try to keep it fairly low monthly rate because our objective is to keep people a long time. And I've had people, we've been doing this about 6 years now, maybe going into our 7th year. And I still have people that have been with me almost the whole time. So that's super cool where we can just, they pay a monthly rate and they get enough value of the coaching and the support that we provide that they just stick with us. So it's not huge, but it's a fun little business that we give back, and it provides, I have a little team of people that work with me there and provide for their families. And we're helping contractors, who otherwise would be just, hustling and trying to make it happen. We're helping them get direction and clarity and grow their business. So that the crux of the business side, it's a monthly subscription. In our case, a monthly subscription model, because we have the coaching, and we just slowly but surely try to add new members to it. And we try to create a community and a culture. And we do events, and we do like retreats and workshops and stuff like that, to where, it's not about me coaching or my coaches coaching. It's about, you and me networking at an event and building relationships that way. So that's what's really fun about it.
Yeah. So if I was interested in roofing at all, I would definitely consider this, because I know what you've done with it. And I know that you really are helping people. So how does someone, if they are interested in getting to know more about that, well, what is the monthly fee? You said a minimal fee.
So it ranges. We do have a package where you can just buy all the courses and get access to our group calls. And that's just like a one-time, fee. It's a few grand to just buy the course. Right. But if you want coaching, it ranges from, 500 up to, a few $1,000 a month, depending on the level of intensity. Like we have a program that's pretty high level. It's more like almost like a fractional COO level coaching, where we're really in deep with your business. And generally you need a leadership team and someone managing the books, someone managing the office, someone, kind of a leadership team in place. And we can work with that team to really kind of create like a corporatized environment, which you got to be careful saying that on a blue collar set here. But so it ranges, but we have, from 500 up.
That's very affordable, man. And I got to tell you, if I was a roofer, I would definitely do this, even if it's the entry 500, because look, I have business coaches that help me in my business, and I've been doing this for 2 decades, right?
Yep.
So I think everybody, and you have coaches too. You have people that help you. So I think everybody
probably
needs
spend
that.
6 figures on coaching. You probably
totally, totally.
And for our main program, it's about 12-15 grand a year, right? Which is, I mean, that's
it's $1,000 a month.
Roofs,
Come on,
right? It's a couple roofs.
Yeah.
So it's they try to keep it low, and we do that intentionally, because it's not about the money, it's about the impact and about the community. I'd rather, instead of having you spend a whole bunch of money for 3 months with me, I'd rather you pay a lower amount for 3 years.
Yeah. I know it's about the impact, because you're very vocal about that. And I love that about you, but you got to get some benefits too. So outside of the monetary benefit of the academy itself, do you get any other value? Do you get like roofing jobs for elite? Do you get, I don't know. I know there's lots of mergers and acquisitions in this industry. Do people target you? Do you target others through the roofing academy? Referrals? Like what other kind of benefit do you get outside of just the 500 or 1,000 a month?
Yeah. So my, mentor of mine, right, one of my coaches, he talks about elusive gain, and this is it's something you can't really measure with numbers, right? It's like I met Kevin at a business event, and we became friends, and I learned how to invest in real estate. That's elusive gain, right? I didn't pay for that service. It just kind of happened, right? So that sort of thing happens just by putting yourself in rooms and putting yourself in circles that you can learn and grow from, right? What do they say? You're the sum of the 10 people you spend the most time with. So surround yourself with people you can learn and grow from, right? So from that sense, my network is pretty vast. I know a lot of roofers and a lot of people in the industry. It's created a ton of opportunities for speaking engagements, for, getting involved with different conferences, as well as, I can't talk too much, but yeah, there's a lot going on in the M&A space in this world and in the roofing space. So, it's gave me really good opportunities there to where I now have a pool of amazing contractors that are working towards, and depending on what they're working towards, I can help facilitate that. So it's cool. I didn't know that. I didn't anticipate that. That's just, that bonus, that elusive gain that you get by just putting yourself out there.
Have you ever gotten like a referral for a roofing job, or have you gotten so that's where you make your money, I would assume.
Yeah.
Or
So
like maybe a roofer that wants to work for you, or
people. So, someone may know a roofer in Minnesota that moves to Colorado, and they'll say, hey, you got to call Randy and go work for his company. Right. That sort of thing happens. Or, we did a roof just a few months back where a friend of mine, one of our members, it was a relative of theirs that happens to live in my market, that happens to have a storm, a hail damaged roof, called us, and we did the roof. Right. That sort of thing does happen like a handful of times a year. Like it's pretty cool.
That's amazing. So do people like refer each other that are in your organization? Because it's a community, right?
Yep. All the time. It's funny. I just, we have a project in another state. We do commercial work. So we have a commercial client here that has a hotel in another state. And I just called one of my roofers and I'm like, hey man, can you do me a solid and go do an inspection, get some photos and really take a look at this roof to see if it, give me all the details I need to then do a proper bid on it. And he went and did it. No problem. He's like, cool. It's a learning experience for me too. So he went and did it, knocked it all out and gave us the information. So now we could very well get a good sized roof in another state. And we just work with our network to be able to execute that. So that's happened a number of times.
Yeah, there's so much money in relationships. And we do this in real estate a lot, Randy, where we just like, maybe we'll bring two people together and they pay us a little fee to make that introduction, or maybe we'll get a property under contract and sell it to somebody else in our network and make just a little bit of profit without actually doing the work, right? Is roofing similar? Can I get paid if I send you referrals?
Potentially. I personally won't do that. I just feel like, I'd rather just have that escrow, that relationship escrow built up, So a little bit that does happen a little bit. So I actually have a good friend who is in our roofing space. He's in a market kind of close by here, and he's been a member, but we've been friends for a few years, and he has a pretty successful YouTube channel. And so he gets leads from consumers all over the country. So he always hits me up like, hey, do you have a guy in this location? Do you have a guy in this location? So he sent us a number of leads, and yeah, I'll pay him a fee for sure for sending me those leads. So we've done that a number of times.
And so you pay for the leads, but if you have a lead, would you get paid on it?
I probably could, but generally I just
don't.
Especially if it's someone in my network that's already paying me for my services, I'm just going to throw them.
I just wasn't sure how that worked,
No, in one case, I have a good friend that, again, they're not just members, they become friends. We become close. I've known these guys for years now. And one of these guys in particular, he's building an awesome company in Minnesota. And I had a good friend that I was working with and doing some things with, and he was in like a little bit of a transition looking for an opportunity. And I was like, hey, plug these two guys together. And he's been working with them for 2 years now, and opening a new office down in Florida. So it's just cool how that network works. And I'm just like, here you go. Here's a guy, here's an opportunity. Here's a connection. I didn't ask for anything. I didn't make anything off of that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I get a lot of personal value out of making those connections,
Yeah, it feels good. So you asked earlier who the audience is, mostly real estate investors and people looking to acquire real estate investors as clients. So think about attorneys, mortgage brokers, realtors, those type of people. And geographically, they're mostly Colorado and Minnesota.
Oh, interesting.
So, and you brought up Minnesota a couple of times today, and I didn't know if you knew that, but a big chunk of our business comes out of Minnesota. And so we have an audience there as well as Colorado. Now we have people all over the nation, but those are the two primary. So,
yeah. Well, if any investors out there needs roofers in either of those locations, I got you covered. And
yeah, so you have a good friend in Minnesota. Yeah,
I have a number of them actually. I know a half a dozen owners of roofing contractors in Minnesota. And
I didn't know that.
With all of them. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm out in Minnesota once, maybe twice in a year. Usually we go out in we call it spring, Randy, but it's like we do this big event. and it's typically in February. I don't know why we call it the spring. It's like the Spring Success Summit, we call it. And it's always so freaking cold. But when you go out in the summer, that's an amazing place to be.
Yep.
How often do you get out there?
I go out a few times a year for various
cool.
reasons. I have a good friend of mine who's from that area, and they have a lake house up on one of the lakes in Minnesota. Obviously, there's thousands of them, right? 10,000 lakes.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we usually go up about once a year. We bring our families. We were just literally talking about it like last night. We go for the 4th of July. So we go for about 5 days. I mean, you wake up, you grab your coffee, you walk out to the dock, you sit out there and watch this. It's just special, man.
It's special.
July and August on the lakes in Minnesota is special.
Yeah, I totally agree. Cool, man. Well, before we wrap up, I definitely want to get your contact information. So I'll let you throw that out there. But tell me any last piece of advice for, a newer entrepreneur, newer real estate investor, maybe a newer contractor.
You got to show up. First off, keep showing up, make a commitment, believe in yourself, and understand that you are on a lifelong journey of personal development, right? If you can know that that your focus is to always grow and become better and better and better as a person and as who you are, that's going to translate into success in anything you do.
Dude, you're hitting it. Like, these are great nuggets of advice. So if I need a roof anywhere, let's just say anywhere, because you have a huge network. So if I need a roof, if I want some education, some advice, I'm assuming you'll talk to somebody if they wanted that. So how do we get a hold of you?
So probably the best is, good old social medias. I'm on Facebook Messenger, probably the most. That's probably the quickest, easiest way to get I'm on there quite a bit. And then if you want to email me at randy@theroofingacademy.com, or you just go to the Roofing Academy, and I have a YouTube channel as well, the Roofing Academy. So check that out. A lot of content on there. That's where we post all of our shows. We've been doing our podcast for, I think, 6 years now. So we got 300 episodes, everything you can imagine. Kevin's on there talking about real estate investing. So we have a lot of cool stuff on there as well. So between YouTube and Facebook, as well as pretty much all the rest of the social channels, randy@theroofingacademy.com.
So randy@theroofingacademy.com. It's facebook.com/Randy Brothers. YouTube, I would just search that because I have the link here, but that's like, I can't read that. That's
just lot. The Roofing Academy on YouTube.
The Roofing Academy on YouTube. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to recap our conversation here, Randy, and I'm going to tell you or ask you to tell me what, if anything, I missed. Okay. You ready?
Okay.
So these are the pieces of advice that we got from Mr. Randy Brothers. First, he says, sharpen your saw during tough times, because look, he got started right in the middle of the recession, and look what he was able to create. The way he stays motivated is practice gratitude. And he does that every single day. I love that one. And then this is not about you. When you start focusing on helping other people, you can get anything you want. You need processes and systems. It's not just slinging roofs. You got to be able to actually build a business to have true success. Elusive game, you mentioned. You got to put yourselves in the right rooms and the right situations to get that value. And then finally, your final piece of advice, Randy, was show up. Keep showing up. You got to believe in yourself. This is a lifelong journey in self-development. How'd I do?
Dude, you're a good note taker, my friend. I think you nailed it. I'm
It's a great episode, man.
I'm grateful, man. Again, grateful to be here, my man. And I'm on that journey too. I don't know it all. I'm just trying to get better every day.
Aren't we all? Yeah. And that's why we're in our group together. And that's why I have a coach. That's why you have a coach. We read every single day. Dude, this was a really, really good episode, Randy. I appreciate your time coming
Thanks,
on.
Man.
So if there's any final words, now is the time.
All I'm going to say is just, again, reiterate, believe in yourself, go forth and prosper.
All right. For the listener, first of all, thank you, Randy. And for the listener, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode as much as I did. I know you did. And I know you're going to give us a 5-star review so we can help more real estate investors and real estate educators just like you. So with that, I hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks again. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you did, please be sure to follow and leave us a review. Oh yeah, and tell a friend.